Pontiac Fiero. You got it, Pontiac.
Hi, thanks for checking out this segment of my 3800 build. In this video, I'm going to go over the process of hooking up the custom fuel lines, the custom air conditioning line, coolant lines, and vacuum lines before the engine gets installed. Once the engine is installed, I will finalize these hookups, but that will be for another video. I hope you find this video useful, and let me know in the comments below what other Fiero videos you'd like to see. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Alright, so I'm inside the engine compartment, and now is a good time to start taking out any components and things that you really don't need to kind of clean up the space a little bit. One of the items I'm going to remove is this metal line here. They're connected together. I think this is a recalled item on a Fiero, so I don't think any Fieros use them, so you might as well get it out. I'm all about reusing whatever components I can to kind of keep the cost down. And there's a rubber hose on the other end here that I think I might be able to reuse, so I'm going to go ahead and take this now and see if we can use it. And it's a 10mm socket. There's one over here too. Alright, got it. The line off. I think I want to try and reuse this rubber hose here to see if I can use it to run a line for the heater. Seems to kind of be the shape and size I need. And then, depending on the condition of both, there's another vacuum line here that we might be able to reuse when we do the vacuum lines. So, see if we can actually pick some parts off of this and see if it works. If not, we don't need it. Might as well use it to clean up the engine compartment. Alright, from our tube, I went ahead and removed the hose clamp. It was a flathead, or I believe 7mm, to get it off. It was a little bit of a pain, but I kind of broken it loose. Just gotta pop this off, and I want to try and reuse this. Vacuum line, maybe. We'll check the condition, but if not, I mean, it's cheap. But this is like a fitted hose. I think this has the angles I need, so let's go ahead and try it out. So my intentions with this hose is to use it to run the line for the heater core. And to do that, I'm going to take advantage of the open port underneath the supercharger snout. And to do that, I'm actually going to use this elbow. Typically came with a plastic one, but I got this from ZZP because I want to make sure that it holds up to everything. And then with this molded hose, I think it has the right angles to come up and around the valve cover and kind of look professional and stock. So I think this molded hose might actually work out pretty good. It will fit. It's going to be a tight fit, but it should fit. So we'll go ahead and try and muscle this on. There we have it. We'll go ahead and put a clamp on this a little bit later. We'll go ahead and try to fit this on and see how well it works. Okay, so here we have our open port. As you can see, we have our elbow. It's just a pressure fit in there. This rubber band in here will keep it from leaking, and the hose will hopefully kind of come up and around and hopefully look pretty decent. So we'll go ahead and press this in. And as you can see, we got the elbow in. Looks great. And as you can see on this side, the hose is kind of come up and around, and I'll probably cut it somewhere around here, and then we'll bring in the hose from the car side and we'll kind of connect them together. So I'm not going to cut this yet until I get it in the car, so I know exactly where I can cut it. Cut it here, cut it up here, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I'm pretty sure this is not going to pop out for any reason when the engine's running and the coolant's flowing through it. It's it's pretty solid in there. But just for a little added insurance, I wanted to make some kind of a bracket to kind of push on there, to keep it pushed on so it doesn't pop out. And so I decided to come up with a little bracket I made here out of aluminum. Just made a small hole here, slightly bigger hole here, and then this is threaded so I can change the amount of tension I want to put on this, because the idea is this bolt is going to push on this, and by tightening it will determine how much pressure I want to push on this elbow. So the way that I have it designed in my head is this is going to seat over top of this bolt, and this nut will seat in here, so it should sit flush. And then I will tighten this to push on that. So I'll kind of get it on, and then I'll bring it in at a different angle so you can see what my idea was. Alright, so that's on there really tight. It's not going anywhere. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the tension onto the bolt, and then I'll use some Loctite as well to help put the tension on. Okay, so this is kind of an idea of what it's going to look like. As you noticed that I had a smaller hole and then a bigger hole to swallow up the nut, so it fits on this bracket pretty flush. It's pretty tight, comes up, and then I've tightened this up with a nut at the end to give me more surface area on the bracket, and it's in there really tight. I mean, nothing's moving anywhere, so there's really no chance this is going to pop out. And it's so far down in there that I really don't think anyone's going to notice this bracket to see that it's really not a stock bracket, but it kind of blends in and looks pretty good in my opinion. And then as you can see, you have the hose that kind of comes up, has a molded effect, and kind of comes around, so we can then attach it to the heater core line on the car. So all I have to do here is basically put a hose clamp on, and I think we're ready to move on. Alright, back in the engine compartment, we are going to swap out the air conditioning line because we are using a compressor for a 3800 engine, so the end of this obviously won't work. So we need to have a custom one made, which I've already done. A link for that is below to the PFF thread on the builder of that. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to have the Fiero end for the car here, and then the 3800 air compressor on this one, so it's a custom line made. So we're going to take this one out and we are going to put our custom one in. And to get this off, it is a 10mm socket. There we are. Alright, so just as a quick refresh, this is the stock Fiero air conditioning hose, and this is the custom hose that was made to adapt the Fiero's air conditioning lines to the 3800 air compressor. So you can kind of see the difference. We also have a Schrader valve here, and everything looks good. And we'll go ahead and put this on. Alright, so we're back in the engine compartment. We've got our new custom line here. We're going to go ahead and install that. You're going to reuse the same bolts. Remember to take a little bit of ester oil, and lubricate your gaskets, and probably be wise to replace the gaskets new. So got that ready, and we'll go ahead and start setting this on. Good to go. Alright, now we're going to turn our attention to the fuel lines. The stock Fiero fuel lines are not compatible with the 3800 engine's fuel rail system, So what we're going to have to do is adapt those. There is a fuel line, which I'll show you in a minute, that adapts the two. It's made by a PFF member. I'm going to put a link below. But I'm going to first remove the fuel send line, and we're going to adapt that. So I'm going to take that off now, and that is going to be a 5/8 wrench for the fuel line, and then I'm going to use some locking pliers for the fuel filter. There we have it. Alright, so these are our custom fuel lines that I've gotten from a PFF member. The link to their build thread on these is below. I'm not sure if they're still making them or not. I believe they are. But you can go ahead and inquire and see if you can get some made. But these are custom made fuel lines from a Pontiac Transport. The kit that I got came with these brass fittings to pressure fit these onto the stock Fiero fuel lines. They're both the same size. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the ones that I got only fit the return line, not the send line. So I ended up going to Home Depot and picking up some fittings that worked for the send line. And these are what I got. They're 3/8 inch fittings, an adapter, and that should make it so that I can attach these to the stock fuel line without having to modify or cut the fuel line. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread one end onto the end of this, and then the other one will be pressure fitted onto here, and then that should connect the fuel line. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then check back. Alright, I'm back. I've attached our Fiero fuel line to our custom Pontiac Transport fuel line, and as you can see, it took a couple adapters on that one. The fuel line, or the return line for the Fiero, has already been attached to the transport line, and that's in the car. So we'll get in the car, we'll hook this up, and go from there. Alright, as you can see, these are the lines attached, our custom transport lines, Fiero lines, all hooked together, and it was actually pretty painless and fairly easy. So now we can move on. Alright, now we're getting to the point where you can start attaching our custom coolant hoses. This first one here is going to go right in here. This is about the shape of it, minus some box folding during shipping. I believe I got this from Summit. This is a Daco 71030. And basically we're going to stick it on, and it's going to hang over the engine cradle. It's about where the coolant tubes come in. So there might be some slight adjusting later. So make sure that when you put your hose straps on, that you can loosen them if the engine is in the car. So don't make them impossibly hard to get at. So we're going to put this in first, and then we'll go to the other side. Alright, use a flathead screwdriver, or in my case, an 8mm, either or. I'm going to come in on the pulley side. Alright, off to the other side. Alright, this is the tube that's going to come from the thermostat housing. This is again going to go on the outside of the engine cradle. Best guess as possible. I'm sure it doesn't really matter how exact it is. This hose here is also a Daco. It's a 71082. I'll try and have links for these parts below, so go ahead and check the description, and we'll go ahead and sit this in. Alright, and that does it for the cooling hoses. Alright, so now we're going to work on our vacuum lines. We've got our fuel pressure regulator, we've got our boost control, we've got our map sensor, and then there is a vacuum line under the supercharger snout. And all three of these are going to tie together. 1, 2, 3. All four of these are going to tie together. Now, I'm doing a preliminary hookup, so if you have a better way or better design of hooking it up, by all means use your creative imagination, and I may end up changing this, but for right now I'll kind of set it up a certain way, and then you know, as I progress maybe I might change it in the future. So let's get started. So first I'm going to start with our fuel pressure regulator. It has a little thing that comes with it. Hopefully you still have it. If not, you may have to either use a smaller vacuum line or find the adapter. So I'm going to connect this in here. Then I'm going to use a right elbow. Just get that on nice and tight. Alright, now we're going to start going out. Alright, now we have the boost control and the map sensor that we all have to tie in. So I'm going to tie that in with a T splitter. And another elbow. And then get into our boost control. Alright, now we're going to extend out the T-valve. And we'll reach over to our map sensor. Now we're going to go over, start working our way over to the under the supercharger snout. And again, I'm going to use a right angle and a hose to kind of reach out to it. And here's our little valve under the supercharger snout. So we'll go ahead and hook that in. Alright, we got those vacuum lines hooked up. Alright, on top of the supercharger here we've got the vacuum solenoid. We're going to have to flip this 180 degrees to allow everything to face the correct direction. We've got our brake booster here, which obviously needs to be on the firewall side. We're going to move our bypass boost vacuum to the center, and then the last chamber will be used to the evaporator can. We also have this line here that goes in through the throttle body. That'll also go to the evaporator can. So we'll go ahead and flip this around and get everything hooked back up. And it's a 10mm socket. Alright, now we're going to swap it. Alright, now we're going to pull the bypass valve hose off, and we're going to extend it a little bit. I guess you can either come up and over the brake booster. I'm just kind of making a little S underneath, make it a little less visible. Again, this is all preliminary. I may change it once I get it in the car and see how things work. But at least I'll keep it from standing up higher over the brake booster. And it should be swoopy enough that I'm not actually pinching off the vacuum. So, and then once we get it in the car, we will disconnect this, run this to the evap, and we'll run this to the evap. And we're good.